Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining the webinar today. My name is Emily Bradley. I'm part of Medit's training and education team, and we're honored to have with us today Luke LaRocque-Walker. Luke, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, Luke, I'm going to turn the time over to you in just a second, and I know you're going to give a little bit more of a presentation or an explanation about what you do and who you are and your background. So I'm going to leave that up to you because I know you'll be able to do that better than I will. And we also have Kim Monroe. Those of you who have been working with Medit as of late, Kim, thanks so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Emily, for having me.
So Kim's also part of Medit's training and education team. And before I pass the time off to Kim, so Kim's going to take a survey. We're going to ask 2 questions here that you guys can go ahead and answer. She's going to pull up the screen and you guys will be able to answer those in just 1 second. Before I do that, I just want to let everybody know that this webinar is being recorded. This webinar will be made available on Medit's education platforms within a few days. And I also wanted to mention that we will be taking questions. I'm going to save all the questions towards the end of the webinar. If you do have a question, click on the little chat or the question box on the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen if you're joining from a computer, and just type it in there. The questions will come directly to myself, and we will ask the questions to Luke as we go. And we'll try to get to as many as we can, just depending on the time. So Kim, I'm actually going to turn the time over to you, and you can go ahead and pull up the poll or the survey, I guess. And if you can, yeah, go ahead. You can explain this.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up a survey. I'm going to give you guys about 20-30 seconds to fill out each question. They're both multiple choice. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the first question for you. And then if you could just click on the answer that best describes you.
So if you have a question, I'm seeing this poll or the survey on the control panel on the right-hand side of the screen. You guys should be seeing this full screen though. So if you can just make your selection, we'll give another 10 seconds or so with this.
Perfect. I've got some answers coming in here. I'll wait till it kind of subsides. I'll go ahead and switch it out here.
Thank you for taking the time to answer these.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close out this question, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up the second question for us. All right, if you can go ahead and answer this, that would be great. We'll give you again about 20-30 seconds on this one as well.
Hopefully you don't need 20 or 30 seconds to answer this question. It's a bit of an easy question, but we'll give it to you. Anyways, yeah.
Perfect. All right, I'll go ahead and close out of this one as, oh, got a couple more coming in, hold on. All right, awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out and hand everything back over to Emily.
Thanks so much, Kim. Okay, so again, we're gonna go ahead and just pass the time off to Luke. Luke, I want you to know we've done our last few webinars we've had record numbers, and you are maintaining our record numbers goal here. So there's a lot of people out who are super excited to hear from you and interested in what you have to say. That being said, I'm going to actually make you presenter so you can share your screen, and then Kim and I will go ahead and turn our cameras off so people can better see you and you can go full screen.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I got it now. Thank you.
It's all you.
All right, nice. There we go. You can see it now?
Yep, it looks great.
Perfect. All right. All right, thanks everyone for joining today. I'm really excited to do this. I've been chatting with Kim and Emily for a little bit here, you know, about kind of what we can do, what we can present on.
Okay, so it looks as though you're frozen right now, Luke. I don't know if you guys had an internet issue on your side. I'm going to give you guys a second to maybe get back online.
Emily, just real quick, Luke just texted me his computer actually crashed, so he's restarting it right now. Okay. So just a quick second. So.
Okay, well, that's no problem.
I'm back. Okay, all right. Well, we're off to a very good start today. Yeah, so back to kind of where I was. Like I said, been using Medit for a little while. We've been chatting about, you know, what kind of presentations can we come up with, what can we do, and there's a lot of different things to talk about with Medit and a lot that I love. And they kind of threw out the idea, what about model builder? And I was like, yeah, totally, we could definitely do one on that. first thing that came to my mind was, okay, this is gonna be a quick presentation. Like once if you haven't used Model Builder yet, once I show you it, you're gonna be like, okay, that's simple. I remember like when it came out, we downloaded it, first model was like a minute and we were done. So I mean, it's pretty basic software, but we're also gonna talk about, like I wanna talk about scanning as well, because to have a good model, you have to start with good scan. So I wanna talk a little bit about scanning, whether you are a clinician or not. If you are a lab, maybe you can help your clinicians with some of these tips. And then hopefully you guys can get some good ideas how to utilize this app to the best of your ability. Sorry, give me 1 second here. So this is what we're talking about today. Medit Model Builder. Again, my name is Luke LaRocque-Walker. I'm a denturist in Cochrane, Alberta, Canada. I'm going to show that in just a second here. So some of the other apps, we've kind of discussed, talking about are the DCM converter if you're working with 3-shape files. Smile Design can be a really powerful tool for consultations. Medit Design, in this presentation, I have to use Medit Design a few times. It's an awesome tool. Maybe in the past you've used Mesh Mixer. Hopefully, we aren't having to use Mesh Mixer as much, because I find Medit Design a lot more stable and a lot quicker, a lot easier to use. So we can spend a lot of time talking about that. So I'll show a little bit about that. So about me. So like I said, I have a clinic in Cochrane, about 15 minutes northwest of Calgary. You've probably heard of Calgary, really close to the Rocky Mountains. That's my boys and I at Lake Louise. We go out there quite often. What's a denturist, in case you're, maybe somewhere that doesn't have them? We specialize in dentures, obviously. So my training is, on the clinical as well as the laboratory aspect. Kind of the only thing we don't really learn as far as dentures are concerned is fabricating cast partial frameworks. But other than that, like I said, we do the clinical, we do the lab. Now, at my clinic, I kind of really just do the clinical, and I have Paul, who helps me out a lot now, and I have a slide about him later. My digital journey kind of started 4 years ago. Got a desktop scanner, got a 3D printer, and then this is where we're at now. This is our digital lab, our mill room. So we have a mill, we have 3 different 3D printers, tons of computers for designing and whatever, for scanners and everything. So yeah, things have come a long way. So this is a slide I like to, I've had in every single presentation I've done, because maybe you aren't into the digital world yet. I'm assuming most people in this one are, but comfort, the enemy of progress. So, we all get comfortable, we all get used to doing the same thing day in and day out, and it can really push our boundaries to move into these new digital technologies, but how are we ever gonna move forward? And that one's actually a quote by P.T. Barnum, which is really cool. So what have I learned? What are my thoughts? And what I mean by that is, what do I kind of keep in mind now when I'm purchasing, different products or materials? So, in the past, purchase price was kind of at the top of my list. Like the very first lab scanner I bought, it wasn't a Medit one. And, back then I had just bought my clinic. I just really didn't have the finances to do much. So that was kind of the #1 thing. And for me, that's actually way down on the list now, basically right at the end. Medit has done a really good job of, kind of ticking every other box, but having the purchase price quite low, which is amazing. And so, like I said, if you are looking at purchasing things, and these are all the reasons that I've gone with Medit for my lab and my intraoral scanners, the social media following's huge. They have a massive group on Facebook, their presence. So you see, Sean Kim, Michael Lee, like all these different people, trying to help, trying to improve their product, listening to what people are saying. That's super important. And then support. Where are you getting your support from? Your reseller, again, all these groups on Facebook, different social media platforms. We have groups amongst friends that, we all chat if we're having certain issues. Obviously, and then back to the, Medit does very frequent updates. and they've, you know, made things leaps and bounds above what they used to be, especially when I first got my i500. It seemed like every update, it just kept getting better and better when you couldn't think it would happen. And then annual fees, obviously, that really isn't a thing with Medit other than the 10 terabytes for like $13, which is basically nothing.
Hey, Luke, I'm going to interrupt you and say that's 99 cents a month, $13 or less a year. So, you know,
Yeah,
just
like
so
I
they
said,
know.
yeah, like it's just like it's basically nice. I mean, it could be, I don't know, it could be $50 a month, and I'd probably pay for it. But
Yeah.
yeah, but anyway, yeah. So for $1 a month, you get 10 terabytes of storage, which is just outrageous. So yeah, and then the one last thing, and the other awesome thing about Medit is it's totally open. Is it coming? Are you coming? There we go. Totally open system. I mean, you know, I've actually just started chatting with the school that I went to about, you know, working Medit scanners into their curriculum. They said, yeah, you know, we're getting this software. Where, yeah, you can use it with whatever you want. Super simple. So here is the famous Paul. So like I said, back when, you know, back when I started this journey, it was just myself and a receptionist. And then as things started to get busier and grow, you know, I couldn't do all the lab work myself. So Paul's, you know, Paul's my right-hand man. You know, we do, you know, I couldn't do what I do without him. I couldn't have grown to the point I have without him. And that's another thing I say. So whether you are a clinic and you have, you know, a side lab that, you know, outsourced lab that you refer to, or in, you know, an inside lab that you're working with, you should be, you know, really, really good friends with them and work really well together, because that really helps you move forward in this digital age. So again, you know, talking about scans to be able to create these models, you know, we've had our T710. I can't remember when it came out, but we've had it ever since then. Why do I love it? The digital denture backups are super simple. Anyone can operate it. My receptionist, Shelly, when we got it, I played with it for a bit, spent about an hour with her, and now it's at the reception desk and she scans everything. You know, it's not another thing I have to do. It's something someone else can do. And then with my understanding, this is the only scanner that rarely needs scan spray. Usually you can scan anything. You don't need to code it in CAD spray. And then the i700, and I've had the i700 wireless for a little while now. Again, I had the i500 for a few years, and obviously this one's just the next level. It's better. It's nice not having a cable. You know, for me with the intraoral scanning, one of the biggest reasons I love it is the wow factor. You know, patients come in, and when I tell them, oh yeah, you know, they're getting an immediate denture, a partial, you know, I don't usually scan fully edentulous, but everything else we're scanning. And when they find out they don't have to see this, you know, me standing there mixing up this impression, you know, they love it. Yeah, these aren't your grandma's dentures anymore. It's a very different world when you go into a denture clinic. So a few tips and tricks about intraoral scanning. So this is my friend Leaf. He's a denturist in Australia. I met him in the spring at a conference. Just imagine he's holding a Medit scanner there. We love him even though he's not holding a Medit scanner there. But he had this really cool story about, you know, integrating intraoral scanners into like 130 dental practices in Australia. And so he basically had to learn it inside and out and then train everyone at all these clinics. So he had a lot of good points. So I kind of stole these slides from him with his permission. You know, and it kind of talks about if you are thinking about getting into intraoral scanning, like the important one for me is don't get it and think day one it's going to be perfect and you're going to be saving all this time. Like it takes time to learn. And his recommendation is for that first 0 to 30 scans, you want to be basically take your impressions, book a little extra time, and then scan. Don't rely on those because it does take time. You're stressed out, the patient's there. But yeah, this is kind of what you're looking at. I think I'm in the 500 plus now, so I've done a few, but still nowhere near the experience of him. Again, so maybe you're a lab and you're getting scans that aren't the best. You know, you can kind of snap a picture of this and say, you know, here's some ideas on when you're scanning, especially when we're making dentures. It's quite hard. We have the hardest intraoral scanning to do. You know, these are kind of things we're looking at. You know, I always look and see, okay, where are the most teeth? I got to start there, and then I'm going to work into my soft tissues. Is there a lot of saliva? Do we need to dry things out, have them swallow more often? Yeah, you know, I mean, it helps. And then the last one, you know, I think sitting upright, maybe reclined a little bit is the best. You know, it's easy to switch between your hands. You're looking straight on. You can see up, you can see down. Again, I know a lot of dentists, you know, their patients always recline fully. As a denturist, I don't normally work that way. But like I said, this to me is the best way to scan. And I put my scanner cart kind of right behind the chair so I can see the screen almost while I'm looking in their mouth. And then a few of these kind of interesting handholds, you know, the pool cue. I do one when I'm scanning a lower free end, like I hold the scanner in my right hand and then I use my 2 fingers, one to hold the cheek, one to hold the tongue, and then I'm scanning the ridge. And again, things like that you just kind of learn as you do it more. Little trick again, so you have these nice models, maybe you can't quite get that ridge, the tongue's folding over it, whatever. I find the partials from intraoral scans fit way better than taking an impression. So now if I can't do it, I'll scan all the teeth, we'll pour a model, and then you can just blend the model right into your intraoral scan. Or one cool thing you can do with Medit is if everything's working properly, you can flip your scan inside out and actually just scan the impression. Don't even need to pour a model. So that's extensions from an impression. And to go along with all those slides, digital doesn't fix bad clinical work. You still need to do good clinical work. Otherwise, again, you can't just throw a good scan at someone and say, hey, make a model out of this, and there's folds and holes. It doesn't help. You need to know what you're doing. All right, so now we're getting into the actual model builder. So again, if you don't have Medit, you can get this software. It's free. Go get it. You should get a Medit scanner. I think they're great. But even if you don't, if you already have something else, but you're kind of interested in this free model building software, I'm going to show you exactly how to use it, even if you don't have a Medit scanner. So in the past, like I said, lovely old mesh mixer, this is how much work it used to take me to make a model. So these were like upper and lower scans, and it's just slide after slide. And I think it's like 30, 40 slides. We're gonna fly right on through these. We're flipping it inside out. We're refining our borders. Oh, now we have something. Now we got a base. Do the same for the bottom. And that was without even hollowing it. That was a whole nother probably 30 slides. So now when we're looking at doing this, you know, it's shocking how fast it is. And again, you know, getting into this 4 years ago, you know, it was quite painful, and now we don't have to deal with that. So here's a really quick video running through Model Builder. I'm going to kind of show these steps, but we just wanted to make a really quick video of like, how quick can we actually do this? And again, this was just, you know, like right after it came out. I think we'd only had it for a day. And this will allow me to kind of go through my slides even a little bit quicker here.
Hey, Luke, while they're watching this, and I think this is awesome how quick it's done. In order to utilize any of Medit's apps, you can create your own Medit Link account, meditlink.com, download the software and go to App Box and download these apps. They're free, entirely free. So
That's
just
right.
wanted to throw that in there.
All you need is an email. And then this last part of this video is, again, we have a few different printers. One of them's an Asiga, and Medit's awesome, and they've partnered with Asiga and now have Asiga integration. So you can just throw these models right into the Asiga printing software. So that's how simple that is. Yeah, so exactly. So I don't have slides on how to create an account, but again, you can go to Medit's website, create your account, download the Medit Link software. But this is how to actually make some models. Like I said, whether you have Medit scanner, this is how to do it if you don't. So this is kind of what the Medit Link software looks like if you've never seen it before. Again, on the left side, you'll see app box. So you would go ahead and download the model building app, and then you'll go back to case box. Up in the top right corner, you're going to hit register a new case. This one I just called model builders case. And then once you hit next, this is what your form looks like. So if you were creating scans in Medit, this is what the form would be. And then rather than actually telling it what you're going to do, in the top right corner, you can see I've kind of highlighted the little paper clip. It says attach. You hit the attach button. Then you just find the file where the folder where those files are. In these slides, I just wanted to show you can import STL non-color 3D files or PLY color files. There's our color, there's our STL, and then you just click on Model Builder and you're good to go. So that's kind of the next part of the presentation. Like I said, this is super simple. I'm just going to kind of explain a few of the different tools here. Again, we don't need to teach you too long. It's almost more fun to just go download it and play with it yourself. One thing I highly recommend, I know some people who design and don't love a 3D mouse, but I think it's the greatest thing ever when you're designing, whether it's models, dentures, crown and bridge. This is the one I have, the 3D Connection wireless mouse. What it does is it allows you to rotate your object, flip it, move it any direction without having to use the mouse to right click. So it just frees up your working hand and you can do everything with your left hand. It does take a little getting used to, it takes a little bit of work, but yeah, I totally recommend one of those. I love it. So this is kind of the main one that we're going to talk about. It would be partial denture models for printing, splint models for printing. You know, we aren't going to talk about crown and bridge because that's kind of outside of my scope as a denturist, but I'll show you where that section is. But this is basically for making these models for printing, and then I'll kind of explain what we're using them for. So here's some scans I did, I can't remember the date, not too long ago. So usually what I like to do, or I guess what Paul likes to do because he does all this, it's nice to do any modifying you need to do in Medit design. The reason for that is if you do your modifying in Medit design, that way your original files have those same modifications. So what I'm going to show is like filling a hole in or doing a food line on a partial. If you do that and then you print that model, but your original file doesn't have that food line anymore and you design on it, your partial is not going to fit on your printed model. You're going to have an issue somewhere. So it's nice to do it in Medit design first so that it's saved on the initial scan you did. So again, that's just another app that you download. We're going to jump into edit mode once you're in Medit design. The one thing that makes it a little bit easier to see is you can change the color of the model from a color to a monochrome, so it looks more like an STL. And then we're jumping into the like the wax knife section. So we have the sculpting tool. We have a few different options here. So this one we're using the subtraction tool. You can adjust size and strength, just again to draw that food line. So when you're running up the edge of the palette there, as you can see, it got all liney and weird. That's where it's nice to have that 3D mouse. You can just turn it over and draw it straight. So just be careful of that. There you can see I got it all kind of drawn out where the frame's going to go. This will also, if you're sending this out to a lab, they'll also be able to kind of tell where you want your frame to terminate. And then you can run the smooth function, kind of if there were any of those little bumps or anything, you can kind of clean that up. So that's what it looks like all finished. And then you can go back to color. So you can see on the kind of the right side of that scan there, it's kind of bubbly and wavy. I assume that was probably some saliva, maybe the tissue folded while I was scanning there. Again, it's nice to get that taken care of now so your model doesn't have that. So all you'll do is use your select tool, delete it. Well, the important thing I wanted to show on that slide is you can see there's just a sliver still touching all together. You need to have a full circle. So make sure there is still that little sliver in there. And then we're going to use the hole fill tool. Fills it in nice and smooth, like it never even was. Now that we have everything cleaned up, we're going to you go back to Medit link, click the model builder icon, and then this is model builder. This is how easy it is. If you've done your scans in Medit link, it's automatically going to import them in the maxilla and mandible. It knows. Otherwise, you can select it. So first thing we're going to do, select the area for the base. Medit auto selects the teeth only. Again, when we're doing partial dentures, we need more than just the teeth. That would be perfect for if you're making like aligners, something like that. So I like to use the dot and line tool, kind of drag around, select everything at once. You can use the brush tool, but I'm going to show you where the issue comes with that is if you're using the brush tool does not go through the 3D scan. It only covers the areas that you can see. So if you see here, I lost my whole anterior flange because I drew on it from top view and it was not selected. And if you see here, the whole lingual, anywhere there was undercut, it was not selected. So you can use the brush tool, but just heads up if you're going to do that. I went back over it with the line select and it picks up everything all the way through. So at this point, You can now do the same cleanup. You can do it at this step, but like I said, your original scans will not have those modifications done, which could be an issue when you're after you've designed and milled or printed or whatever. Is it going to fit on that model? So then we're going to set our plane of occlusion, 3-point alignment, super simple. Then we're going to basically decide, okay, what do we want this model to look like? So there are a few options on the left there at the bottom for base type. There's like the ortho style model, and then there's the open. So if it's a lingual, it'll leave the whole lingual open, or there's kind of a closed, it'll make like a full complete circle. So depending on what you want, you can pick different things there. You can adjust the height of the base of the model. If you are going to make it hollow or not hollow, and I'll show you later, doing it not hollow for a design scenario. How thick do you want it? Do you want vent holes? Are you printing it right to the base? And then do you want a beveled edge so it's easier to clean off that base? So there we go. We have our kind of initial, this is what our models are going to look like. Again, this is the step where if you're doing crown and bridge, you need to make removable dies, which I know less than nothing about. Please don't ask me. This is where you would do that step. And then the next one, do you want to have your articulation pins? So again, are you going to mount this case? Do you have a bite? Do you need a bite? You can add pins, you can remove pins, you can change the size. If it's orange, that means it's not in a proper spot, so you just need to move it a little bit till it goes blue. There we go. Again, super simple. And then the final part is, putting a name in. So when you're putting the name in, you can pick different fonts, different sizes, whatever you want to do. The one thing you want to keep in mind, are you embossing it? Are you engraving it? Big recommendation would be engrave it, because if you're 3D printing and it's sticking out, it's a bit of a mess. And there we go. There's our models. There's models for our partial dentures all ready to print and ready to go. There's our non-color STL files. And then, like I had said, there are integrated apps for printers. So if you have a printer, just go check it out. Like I said, we have a Sprint Ray, we have an Asiga, and we have a Nextent. I don't think there's anything with Nextent, but the other two there are integrated apps. So it's basically just a one-click. It dumps your models in, makes it super fast and super easy to print. So again, this one's a little bit different. Depending on what design software you have, you may or may not be able to take a 3D scan and create a model in the software to design on. So this will kind of show you how to use Medit Design as well as Model Builder to get a model ready to use in your design software. So first thing you're going to want to do is either duplicate the scans or duplicate the whole work order, because if it's an immediate, it's one of the best things about doing it digitally is being able to turn the teeth back on and off, so you can see that for your design for reference. So just make sure you do make a copy, because once you delete those teeth, they are gone. So I have a copy created. One of my favorite things about doing the extractions in Medit Design is it has the auto tooth select. And I assume Medit's put some good time into it, because it's very, very good. It works very easy. So you just push one button, every tooth gets selected. You can take a quick peek if there's any little spots it missed, just go fill them in. But there we go. That's how easy it was. Hit the delete button. You are going to hit the fill hole button here, but you can see the large hole in the anterior, because it's all connected. It can't quite fill it. It's not, the tool can't go over 100 millimeters. So what I do is just hit OK, no problem. We're actually going to go into the Medit Link software, and there is a hole fill tool in there that can do 500 millimeters, so it's not an issue. So there we go. You can see the back ones are filled in quite nicely, posterior, sorry. Then we jump in here, and to the left of the scan, there's 5 icons. The middle one, that's a circle with a line through it, is the hole fill icon. So again, I just cranked up the maximum perimeter to like 400. And then it filled it in. And if you look on the interior, it actually does nice scalloping. Like it does a really nice job of making that model ready for an immediate denture. Again, back into Medit Design or Model Builder. So again, the difference with this one is if you're importing it to be designed, if you're not using their software to get the models ready, you probably don't want to have these models hollow. So you just want to leave them solid, probably not add names or anything on there. And there we go, there's our immediate denture. Lots of room in that one for a smile. And then the last thing, I'm not totally sure why this happens, but when Medit exports the models, they aren't aligned to the original scans. So not a problem. You can just jump into Medit design, click on the alignment tool. The reference is always the one that you want to match to, and then the target will be, in this case, the one where the teeth have been removed. Automatic alignment, upper and lower, and then there we go. Now we have our scans with the teeth on and the teeth off. Everything's all aligned, and then you can export those and import them into exocad, 3Shape, whatever you decide to use for your denture design. This one I'm going to jump through really quick. Not super, again, will you use this? Probably not, but may come up. I had done this in the past. So just in case, someone has to come across this, it is totally possible. So this is what we call the reference denture technique. These are a copy of their old dentures that I used for final impressions and bite. So basically we're going to go ahead, select the area that we want to keep, basically our model. You can then invert it, delete everything, invert the scan. So we now basically have a model. And then there's our basically our model without a base on it yet. Top and bottom in occlusion. Then we're going to jump into model builder. Again, select everything, set our plane. This is the one part that I will warn you to watch out for, is once you've designed these models, if the scan does curve over, especially in the posterior on the lower, you need to watch for this. You can see it kind of blocked out our model with undercut. So the way to get around this was the main reason I included this, was if you tilt the distal of your impression down when you're doing your occlusal plane alignment, it gets rid of it. So that was kind of the main reason I wanted to include this. Again, I don't know if anyone is going to use this. If you are, great, that may be an issue. It does make your models look a little goofy, but like I said, that way you at least know, watch out for that, because that can cause problems. All right, so we're getting real close to the end here. So kind of the last things I wanted to talk about are, yeah, what are we using Model Builder for in our clinic kind of day to day? So for splints, so if you have a splint, if you want to confirm the fit, this was designed and 3D printed and want to make sure it fits before you go into the clinic. Design your models. You can also give it to the patient. They love having all that extra stuff. Super simple. So this is how we used to do acrylic partials, and actually like 2 minutes before the presentation, I added a slide in of a flipper that we actually scanned yesterday and inserted today. But this is how we used to do it. So take impressions, mark our model, score the model, scan it in, do our model design, and then print our model. So then while that model's printing our duplicate model, wax up the denture, process it, and then test fit everything. Test fit it to a printed model, because when you test fit it to a stone model, you can break a tooth, you wear off the edge of the tooth, and then still too tight. If it fits on a printed model, maybe one adjustment, usually none. If it goes on that printed model, it's going to go in the mouth. So you can see how beautiful that looks, how nicely it fits the printed model. So as a clinician, it makes my job super easy, because I can walk in there almost every time, it just drops right in. So this was the case we just did. Emily, this was the one I was telling you about. So patient came in, they had a real ugly flipper. The teeth were too long, the shade was off. So I said, okay, now we scanned with the i700 wireless, designed in 3Shape, milled on our Ivoclar PM7 with oversized milling, and they're just like the most amazing partials ever. I used to hate doing these dentures, and I actually enjoy them now, and I wish I did more of them. And you can see how nice the result was. No one's going to tell she has anything in them.
No, it's beautiful. It's like you were saying, you would have no idea that wasn't her teeth.
Yeah, no one would be able to tell which one. The shade was perfect. Like everything was awesome with that case. And and again, we saw her yesterday. She had that today and was just wow. And again, so it was a little tight on the printed model. So when I went to try it in the mouth, I knew that, and it was a little bit tight in the mouth. So I did the tiny little adjustment I saw, and boom, dropped right in. That was it. And again, normally those appointments used to take forever. Now they're fast, and I enjoy them. So this is a really cool workflow. So I'm not going to go too deep into this. This is pretty complex digital stuff. If you want to know this, reach out to Paul. I do have Paul's information at the end of these slides, because again, I can't take credit for this, but this is super cool. So now, and again, if you're a lab, this is a really cool workflow. So intraoral scan all our partials. We get our cast frameworks made. That's the only thing we don't do here. So then once we get the frameworks back, Paul scans the framework on the model, and he oversized mills them. So the teeth and the base are milled, and then they actually just snap right on top of the framework. And then we use, HIPAA, if you want to use pro-base cold, something like that, to bond these milled saddles onto your framework, and then we're done. And again, we inserted this. We didn't try in the frame. We didn't do anything. But I think I had one tiny little high spot. You can see on the patient's left side how high that lower premolar is. So I think I had a little adjustment to do there. But again, frames fit perfect. Bite was really, really close. Patient was happy. Everything was great, super easy. And that was 2 appointments to get there. So again, but it is nice to have these models. If you have the hinge, you have the articulation pins. You don't have to mount it. You can just, everything clicks together. It's like Lego now. Super, super cool. And then repairs. So again, like when you're doing repairs, if you maybe you want to fit it to, scan your stone model, print a copy while you're working on the repair, fit it to that model. This was a case, again, we just did this week. Patient came in, this denture, 6 months or a year old, had it made somewhere else, was always uncomfortable, never worked. I couldn't get it in his mouth, and I wasn't about to spend an hour in the clinic, trimming and adjusting. So I said, hey, why don't we scan you up? Paul will print the model. I'll give Paul the partial. He'll fit it to the printed model. If it fits the printed model, it'll fit in your mouth. And Paul worked his magic, and you can see, again, I couldn't get that in that patient's mouth at all, and you can see how nicely it sat down on that model. And again, I did my scans. Paul had the model, boom, to the Asiga in like a minute, and then it was, we were ready to go. So like I said, it's pretty short and sweet. Model Builder is pretty simple. We don't need to spend hours talking about it. But yeah, hopefully that gets the wheels turning. Hopefully that makes you want to get it, try it. It's super easy. And then, that's kind of the stuff we're going to be talking about in Long Beach later in the year. All of the other apps, lots of the scanning, different workflows for complete dentures, complete denture over partial, all that kind of stuff. Everything kind of to do with dentures, because that's kind of what I do. But yeah, thank you very much for joining.
Okay, we do have just a few questions. And while you're on the subject, do you want to just tell them the date of your Long Beach course? So those of you who are interested in what Luke is doing here, we're going to dedicate a whole day to him. Our courses are free. Kim started to explain the courses a little bit before he got back on just earlier. I mean, it's a live webinar, right? Anything could happen. So
right.
We're lucky you got back on. So do you want to, what's your date for your course that you can just kind of shout out to everybody?
Do we have that date selected?
No, November 18th, I believe.
That's what it was. Oh yeah, I was like, just let me check my calendar. It is in my calendar. Yeah, November 18th.
We kind of hijacked Luke. We insist that he's going to come there and teach for us, because we think he really has a lot to offer. I actually just went to the dentist the other day, Luke, and I was talking a little bit about the webinar that you're going to offer, and literally my dentist was like, "That's the future. This is the webinar to join. This is what the future is." So.
Well, yeah, because I think like by utilizing Medit, and again, we only saw really quick snippets of like the partials. Like you can make really good, really predictable, really nice partials with scans and not a lot else. It really opens it up, because I do see a lot of work that's not great, because traditionally to make a nice denture was a lot of appointments, a lot of work, and a lot of people aren't super committed to that. But now, I mean, with the digital era, like you can do it. And again, that reference denture technique, I mean, we do so much of that, and you can make such nice dentures. We do less adjustments. I have less patients come in and say, "Oh, this is off. I don't like this." It's just like, and it's a really easy thing to teach people. It's just simple workflows. And then, yeah, you can kind of really make, I don't know, it just saves you a lot of time on the back end, which is never fun, seeing patients for like 5 adjustment appointments.
For sure. Not for you and not for the patient either.
No, yeah, both people are in a bad mood.
So if you guys are interested in attending Luke's course, go ahead and email Kim, kimberly.munro@medit.com. She's kind of heading up a lot of the education. She'll get you signed up for the course. Again, it's free. We'd love to see you. Luke, there are just a couple questions. First off, I'm gonna give a shout out to Jeff. Jeff says you guys are good friends and he's learned so much from you already. So I just want to say, Jeff, we've met a long time ago. So thanks for tuning in. So you're getting a lot of compliments right now.
Thank you for the support. We'll have to hang out soon.
Somebody really liked the t-shirt earlier. I'm not sure what t-shirt it is. I don't think that they're talking about your scrub shirt.
Paul's shirt. It says keep calm and put your dentures back in. I think he just found that on the internet somewhere. I remember one day he came into work, or I came into work, and he had his lab coat done up all the way, and he just ripped it open. So if you couldn't tell, we have a lot of fun at work.
Yeah, and you know what? I just met him actually the other day when we were talking. Fantastic person. We're going to include him in education in the future. I already told him. I already threatened him that he's going to be involved. So
well, like I said, I'm good with the scanning and the clinical stuff, but all that lab work's all Paul. And like I said, I couldn't do what I do without him. So yeah, he's a super smart guy and really good with the digital stuff.
Awesome. So here's a quick question for you. Can you add different articulator attachments to the model?
For my understanding, currently in Model Builder, that's all there is. If you have STLs of different, so yeah, say you have a hinge one you really like, and maybe you guys can message that to R&D. But yeah, maybe you have like a hinge one you like. You have the STL files for it, you could totally attach those to that case and go into Medit design, move it in so it's touching properly. And it has all the scaling options, you can make it bigger, smaller, whatever. And then you could Boolean addition them together, and then you could totally have that to 3D print.
I'm really glad you brought that up. So in saying that, he's actually talking about one of Medit's other apps for those of you who don't use Medit apps. Our focus was Medit Model Builder today, but he's also using Medit Design. It's just a separate app. You download it, it's for free, and you can pull, like you said, those STL files in there, and you could actually create something there, as you showed us earlier.
Almost anything with that app. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. And just to go along with that really quick, with the articulator, you can actually change the size, the spacing, where it's located on the model. I know you mentioned that, but you have a lot of flexibility, but it's also very, very intuitive. It just follows right along. Basically, you're going to follow the workflow at the top of the screen, and it's just super intuitive to use, very fast to learn. So again, one last person says, can you please tell me again how to access or to gain access to the Medit apps? Maybe I can just explain this really quick.
Yeah, totally.
You're going to go to meditlink.com, create an account, basically. So you're going to say you're a clinic or you're a lab, and you're going to enter your email address and basically a password. You'll receive a confirmation email. You'll be able to download the software by clicking the little blue button in the lower left-hand side of the screen. And from there, you'll have access to AppBox. And in AppBox, yeah, you can download anything. It's all there for you. You'll have access to everything. I think you're pulling it up right now.
Yeah, so there we go. On the very left side of the screen, halfway down is the app box, and that's where you'll go to download it. And then, like I said, you'll just create a work order, and then you just click the little paperclip button, import whatever files you have from whatever other scanner, and then click on the little model icon at the top, and you're in.
Perfect. Super easy. And then one last question again. Someone said, can you please repeat the course date? It's November 18th. So we would love to see you there. Again, reach out to kimberly.monroe@medit.com. And yeah, I just repeat. Okay, so I got ahead of myself there. They just said to repeat the email address. You could also email me directly. It's emily.bradley@medit.com. Either one of us will be able to get you signed up. I can forward your information on to Kimberly. Again, she's kind of heading up some of these education courses. Kim, are you there? Did you need to say anything?
Just real quick. Yeah, my last name is Monroe, M-U-N-R-O. So again, that's kimberly.monroe, M-U-N-R-O @medit.com.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, Luke, you made a splash. I think that like my dentist said, this is the future. There's not many people doing what you're doing right now. So there's a lot to learn. We're excited to have you as part of the Medit team. And yeah, we look forward to working with you in the future. So thanks again.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. That was a lot of fun.
Perfect. Okay, well, everybody, you have a great evening or day, depending on where you're at in the world. We saw people signed up from everywhere in the world or all over the world. So
Cool.
thanks for tuning in, and we'll get this recording up and available on Medit's education platform very soon. So thanks again, and have a great day. Bye.